You are about to listen to a free portion of The Young Turks. To podcast the complete show, sign up for membership at tytnetwork.com/membership.
All right, welcome to The Young Turks. Big news day today. First of all, obviously we're going to have a lot on the bombing in Brussels. I'm going to start with that in a second. And then the second segment, I'm going to get to the monstrous response of the Republicans to that bombing. Trump, Cruz, among others. And so hang around for that story. And then Elizabeth Warren strikes back against Donald Trump. That's also a good story. The other major news event of today is that there's elections going on right now in Utah, Idaho, and Arizona. Those polls close at 10 o'clock Eastern tonight. So at 9:30 Eastern, we'll be back on the air and doing election coverage. Don't miss a minute of that. The vote in Arizona is incredibly important. And obviously, we've got a huge election going on the Democratic side where Bernie has to come close to sweeping. Arizona is a monumentally important state in that regard. Now, can he do what he did in Michigan and just, revive the campaign again in Arizona, or is that going to be a really deflating moment? We really don't know. The polling is very poor. So we'll find out together tonight at tytnetwork.com/live. And then in the second hour, speaking of the Utah elections, on the Republican side, they're running anti-Trump ads using Trump's wife in porn in order to appeal to Mormons in Utah. Is that a winning strategy or the strategy of losers? We'll discuss in the second hour of today's show. But first, we start with very somber news out of Brussels. Unfortunately, another day, another terrorist bombing, a horrific one in Brussels today. 31 killed, 230 injured. Just horrible, horrible numbers and images. We've got pictures and video for you guys. Unfortunately, there was a bomb that went off at the airport, causing a great number of deaths and injuries, and also in the subway system. Now, it is enormously likely that this is related to the capture of Salah Abdeslam, who apparently was the person who organized the Paris attacks, where over 130 people died. He was captured in Belgium just a couple of days ago, and now this bombing in Belgium. As we watch this again and again throughout the world, it is awfully hard to take. And as you look at those, I'm going to give you a little bit more of a personal moment here. This is in a subway. Now, the people here are okay, but you're going to hear the children crying in the background. They're being rushed out as the subway is getting attacked. So just take a quick look at this video, and then I'll have more for you. Look, that's horrific, but we've got to show it to you, and I want people to understand what the real effects of this are, of course. And so that was near the Ars Louis metro station. Obviously, Brussels Airport as Zaventem was attacked. And look, the great majority of us are on the same side here. But there are some in the world who consider taking extreme action like this. Before they take that action, I'd like them to watch that video one more time. You're really okay with babies screaming like that? You think that that's the right answer to anything? Like, what is it that the terrorists want to do here? Show the West how horrible they are? And you're going to show the West how horrible you are by what? Targeting their children? How can you not see that that makes you look at least as horrible as anything you claim to be fighting against? And again, with the suicide bombings, anyone who's asked to do a suicide bombing should always say these two words first, which is, you first. Whoever's telling you to do the suicide bombing, you should ask them to lead by example. And it's ironic because Salah Abdeslam, the guy who was captured, apparently left his suicide vest behind during the Paris attacks and did not do the suicide bombing as the other 7 did. So he got captured. He was wounded, but he's alive. Everybody else is dead. The other attackers are dead. All these civilians are dead. But the guy who seems to have organized it is still alive. Isn't that ridiculous how that works? So be wary of anyone telling you they've got a good cause and that the most important thing is that you die for the cause, or much worse, that you kill for the cause. So we've now seen this all over across the world. We've seen it in Paris. We saw it here in the U.S., obviously. We're seeing it in Brussels today. We saw it in Ankara. We've seen it in Nigeria, in Istanbul, in Peshawar, in Beirut, let alone in Syria and Iraq, where we have untold devastation. And we go around bombing throughout the world. And when I say we, I mean humanity. So bin Laden strikes the United States on 9/11. We go to attack Afghanistan. We're still there 16 years later. To what effect, no one's quite sure, but we have dropped an untold number of bombs there. Is Afghanistan a flowing democracy that is pro-West right now? Doesn't seem so. Then we invade Iraq for no reason, and more bombing. Now, these 34 people killed, it is a tragedy of epic proportions, and as I hear that child screaming in that tunnel, it rips my heart out. Now, we need to be just as cognizant that over 100,000 civilians, by the most conservative estimate, it's about 150,000 civilians died in Iraq. They also had children who screamed just like that. Sometimes after their family members died, sometimes right before they died. So that also happened. That did happen. You want to close your eyes to it? Okay, that's your choice. Does that excuse what happens today? Absolutely not, not even remotely. But the bombing goes round and round, round and round. Okay, then there's the bombing of Syria and there's the bombing of Libya. And then all those bombs that I talked about in Beirut and Paris and Ankara and Istanbul and Nigeria and now Brussels, they all go off and we all lose our eyes and we go around eye for an eye for an eye. And then at the end of the day, have we solved the problem? Does it look like the problem is solved? For all the people claiming that bombing is the answer, we've dropped over 20,000 bombs. And yet, we are still being bombed. Turns out that this strategy is not that great a strategy. Now, here's what I want. I don't want to see any more scenes like this. Aren't we sick of scenes like this? And what has the bombing gotten us? It has gotten us more bombing. So that makes you angry today, and you're looking to gouge someone's eye out, and you're looking to, oh yeah, we got to strike them and we got to bomb them even harder. Okay, go ahead and do it. But it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. This is the result. Now, is it our fault? No. Except for the fact that it is our fault as human beings, in humanity. Because we think the answer is, I see a nail, somebody give me a hammer, right? The fundamentalists on the Muslim side that did this are wholly responsible for this. And what their actions are grotesque. And when our fundamentalists, our right-wingers go, let's go bomb them, understand that it doesn't work. Maybe it makes you feel better on a day like today. Because when I see those pictures, I want vengeance too. I'm also human, right? So what I'm asking you to do, not even to appeal to your better angels, because I get why people say today is not that day, right? I'm asking you to do something that isn't counterproductive, because we've tried the bombing. And what has it gotten us? A strategy that has failed miserably. Look at what the status of Iraq, does that look like it's a wonderful democracy now? The status of Afghanistan, the status of Syria. We dropped all those bombs. And what happened? If it was grotesque and it was immoral and we killed their civilians, but it worked, that would be one thing. I'm not sure I'd be in favor of that, but it would be a different thing than what we have now. Instead, we have dropped all those bombs and it didn't work. So now you're going to hear all over television, not all the politicians, but a lot of the politicians and a lot of the media come out and say, well, the answer is obvious, more bombing. That is the most counterfactual position there is. We must find the people who did this. I'm not saying that we go in there with flowers and rainbows. Hell no. Some say, oh, well, if we didn't capture Abdul Salam, maybe this wouldn't have happened. No, that's not how it works. We go get the guys who did it, okay? Of course we capture that guy, and of course we should be getting information out of him in the best practices we have. Not best as in most moral, that would be great, but best as in most productive, okay? The ones that we know work. So, getting the information out of him. We should find the people who did this. If any of them are still alive, target them. I think we should use special forces a lot more than we do throughout the world. But then we also have to have a long-term strategy, because our current long-term strategy is miserable and has gotten us these results. That's the reality. Okay, now I want to build upon that to give you more facts on that issue. So on a tragic day like today, when we have the bombing in Brussels, 34 killed, hundreds injured, you are going to hear, and you're already hearing from the politicians, let's go get them. In fact, I want to play you a grotesque clip from a United States congressman, Congressman King from New York. Listen to this.
This is a wake-up call, another wake-up call to Europe about how they have to really increase their surveillance, increase their counterterrorism. This is a reminder to us in this country never to let our guard down, and that we have to maintain surveillance. We have to be aggressive. We can't just be on defense. We have to go after them, kill them before they kill us.
Kill them before they kill us. Who is them? Now, if you have suspects, I'm in, man. Let's go get the special forces. Let's do what we got to do. If you've got good evidence, let's go get the sons of bitches. I want to get everybody who did every one of these bombings, from Brussels to Paris to Nigeria to Turkey to Beirut. Let's go get all the guys who did it, okay? Now, if you want to get them before they get us, who is them and how do you know where they're coming? You got good intelligence? Again, let's take action. But if you mean broadly, let's go drop bombs, let's go kill more people in the Middle East, which is exactly what Republicans like Peter King think, and go kill them, well, I've got interesting news for you. We already have. So let me give you facts. This is from CNN. The U.S. Air Force has fired off more than 20,000 missiles and bombs since the U.S. bombing campaign against ISIS began 15 months ago, according to the Air Force. That's our Air Force. That's not WikiLeaks, although WikiLeaks leaks government documents, so it's enormously accurate. That's not anybody's opinion. That's the Air Force. Now, I'll give you more detail. This is Mika Zenko, who's on the Council of Foreign Relations. He says, since January 1st, 2015, the U.S. has dropped around 23,144 bombs on Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, all countries that are majority Muslim. And how's that working for us? Has it stopped the bombing? Is the West safe now? Oh, right. We had all those bombings anyway. Paris, Istanbul, Brussels, San Bernardino shootings. Are we safe yet? We dropped 20,000 bombs, 23,000 bombs. Shouldn't we be safe by now? In fact, General Mark Welsh says, he's the Air Force Chief of Staff, as the U.S. ramps up its campaign against the Islamist terrorist group in Iraq and Syria, the Air Force is now, quote, expending munitions faster than we can replenish them. We're running out of bombs. That's how many bombs we've dropped. In fact, he says, B-1s have dropped bombs in record numbers. So you want us to do what? Double the record? Triple the record? Is 60,000 bombs going to solve it if 23,000 didn't? One more here from CNN. The bombing campaign has left the U.S. Air Force with what an Air Force official described as munitions depot stocks, quote, below our desired objective. In other words, quite literally what I was just telling you, we're running out of bombs. We've dropped so many bombs on so many Muslim countries, and specifically ISIS in Syria and Iraq, that the United States of America is starting to run out of bombs. And yet we are told by the right wing in our country, who love war and violence is the answer. If only we dropped a couple of more bombs. Okay. Now we go back to alternate, which explains the efficacy of this. And again, largely quoting Cenk, the guy from the Council on Foreign Relations, the expert on the issue. Remarkably, they also claim that alongside the 25,000 fighters killed, only 6 civilians have likely been killed in the 17-month air campaign. At the same time, officials admit that the size of the group has remained wholly unchanged. So Cenk then goes on to explain, in 2014, the Central Intelligence Agency estimated the size of the Islamic State to be between 20,000 and 31,000 fighters. While on Wednesday, Warren again repeated the 30,000 estimate. To summarize the anti-Islamic State bombing calculus, 30,000 minus 25,000 equals 30,000. You understand what this expert is saying? He's saying, we claim that all those people we killed were civilians, we're not civilians, except for 6 of them. Only 6 civilians among the 23 to 25,000 dead. But nonetheless, ISIS still has the same 30,000 fighters according to our estimates. Any chance that we might be killing more than 6 civilians? Any chance that that's counterproductive and turning people against us? And by the way, again, if you don't care that it's immoral and you think, yeah, let's go kill them before they kill us. Let's go kill their civilians. And Donald Trump now says, let's kill their family members. Let's torture them. That's literally what he said today. Torture them, kill the civilians. Who cares? Well, here's what you should care about. Does it work? And if we still have the same number of ISIS fighters as we did before the bombings, after we dropped 23,000 bombs on them and killed 25,000 people, apparently it doesn't work. Okay, no. There is no answer but war. That is what we're told in the media and through our right-wing politicians. Now, I'll give you one example here of how poorly it has worked, and that's Afghanistan. Despite the fact that the U.S. dropped 947 bombs in Afghanistan in 2015, a recent analysis in Foreign Policy magazine found that Taliban control more territory in Afghanistan than at any point since 2001. Okay. Look, I've outlined here before on the show what I think should be done. And some of it clearly involves force. In fact, I think we should use our special forces a lot more. I think we should use the Central Intelligence Agency a lot more and ask them to take a lot more risks. Wherever there's ISIS, there should be a swarm of CIA agents. And the fact that we cannot infiltrate their leadership is maddening. Because dropping bombs and oops, they killed a lot of civilians and oops, they didn't kill a lot of ISIS fighters, that's easy. But it hasn't worked. Actually finding the leaders, the people who actually order these attacks, that's hard. But that's what we need to do if we want justice. And if we want a campaign that's actually going to work. Then the other things we need to do is to fight against the culture of radicalism, fundamentalism throughout the world. And you don't fight fundamentalist Islam with fundamentalist Christianity. Some of our generals, unfortunately, some of our leaders say, oh, no, let's write Bible verses on our rifles and on our missiles, and our God is stronger than their God. Literally what one of our commanders said about Somalia. Has that worked? No. Fundamentalism is the problem. Now, unfortunately, we helped Saudi Arabia spread that poison throughout the world because we thought it would help us in our fight against the godless Soviets. That was a terrible mistake. Let's undo that mistake. If we help to spread that poison in the first place, perhaps we can actually counter that. We need to spend time, money, and effort, yes, fighting culture wars. And by culture wars, I don't mean you indiscriminately bomb, attack, ridicule 1.6 billion Muslims. I mean you fight against fundamentalism of all stripes. Now, if you're not willing to do that, you say, no, my fundamentalists are awesome, my warmongers are awesome, my right wing is awesome, but your right wing is terrible, your fundamentalists are terrible, well, you're never going to win that battle of ideas because you're wrong on that. That it is preposterous to say my fundamentalism is better than your fundamentalism. The way you win that fight is to say all fundamentalism is wrong. Let me show you how. Let me show you facts, reasons, science, information, knowledge, and let me spread that knowledge throughout the world. But you got to come correct first. Killing the civilians isn't working. Bombing random people in the Middle East is not working. Actually fighting in a smart and targeted way, both with force and maybe even more importantly, definitely more importantly, in the long run, ideas. That is the right path. It's not easy. It's harder. A lot of people will give you easy solutions today. And those same easy solutions have led to the results we see today. I'm offering a different path, a path where we actually win this war. So part of that is to be smarter, and the other part is to make sure we get the right message out, which is that this fundamentalism is killing us. It's killing us throughout the world. It's time to take that on. And you know what some of the answer is going to be today. You know it. Oh, no, it's Islam. Just say it's Islam. Hey, you schmucks, we know that radical Muslims did this attack. You think people don't know that? Of course we know that. You think just magically saying it like Ted Cruz wants you to do and others is just going to magically solve it? Okay, it's radical Islam. Is it solved yet? I've said it 1,000 times. Hey, JR, did it get fucking solved last time I said it? Didn't seem like it got solved, did it? Okay, here, I'll say it again. Radical Islam. Did it get solved? No, it didn't get fucking solved. Don't be stupid. And if you think saying magic words makes it better, that is the least intellectual position you could have. All right, let's go on to now political reaction. So here we go again. There's an attack in Brussels, so it's got to be Obama's fault. Now, if you wanted to make a policy argument that we have dropped too little bombs, you'd be tough pressed to do that, given that the Air Force is saying we're almost out of bombs. That's how many bombs we've dropped on ISIS and in different Muslim countries. Okay, if you want to make the argument that we've dropped too many bombs, I think that's a fair argument, and we can have those arguments. If you want to make an argument that there should be a better strategy, I'll join you on that. And now there could be a conservative version of that, there could be a liberal version of that. But here's an argument that doesn't seem to make much sense. President Obama happened to be in Cuba, hence it's his fault. Of course that's the direction they're going to go. First of all, President Obama said something incredibly reasonable, very benign comment after the Brussels attacks. He said, "This is yet another reminder the world must unite. We must be together, regardless of nationality or race or faith, in fighting against the scourge of terrorism." Now, I've never heard anything more reasonable in my life. But I don't give him too much credit for it. It's a very normal thing you'd say after a terrorist attack. Everybody would say it. Republicans would say it. Democrats would say it. I hope Republicans would say it if they were in charge. But no, that got attacked. It's not enough. Say radical Islam. Because if you wave a magic wand and say Shazam, Shabam, radical Islam, while you're in Havana, it'll magically disappear. Come on. We're humoring these idiots. These guys who think that if you just say a couple of words, it gets better overnight. You don't need strategy. You just need to blame one group of people. Yeah, that's a brilliant strategy. But getting beyond that, they got focused, the conservatives did. And he's in Cuba. He's in Cuba. Okay. Mark Thiessen, Brussels under attack. Obama on a tourist trio, or I guess he meant trip, in Havana with his family. Says it all. What does it say? How did he know that they were going to attack Brussels while he was in Cuba in a trip that was planned months ago? If he did know that, then you're on to something. I'd criticize him along with you. But of course he didn't know that. So, I mean, where did you find out the news? Today I found out the news while I was online during breakfast. Cenk Uyghur having breakfast while the Brussels bombing is happening. Well, I don't know. Where were you when you found out? Now we're going to nitpick where people were when they found out the news. He's in Havana with his family. What did you want him to do? Tell his family, get the hell out of here and put him on a boat. I can't be with you. There was a bombing in Brussels. They're lunatics, man. They want to criticize Obama over everything. There's so many legitimate things to criticize Obama over. And look at what these idiots do. Okay, Richard Grinnell, terrible optics. ISIS attacks Brussels and Obama's with the Castro brothers in Cuba. Those two things are wholly unrelated. So, on the one hand, he got rid of a policy in Cuba that hadn't worked in over 50 years. How many decades did you want to go before we came up with a new policy in Cuba? But that's the thing. That's a Republican mindset, which is if you got a policy that doesn't work, war on drugs, or embargo of Cuba, bombing of ISIS, or bombing of the Middle East overall, who cares that it doesn't work? Just keep going in the same direction because we're all lunatics anyway. We're never going to learn. If we've got a wrong policy, double down, right? So he's in Cuba dealing with the debacle that has been our policy in Cuba for over 50 years, this bombing happens to happen at the same time. Oh, yeah, with the Castro brothers. What does that mean? What is the logical nexus between those two things? Nothing. Okay, Jim Garrity. Pretty sure I said his name wrong. Okay. Obama's G20 trip continued as planned after San Bernardino attack. Why would we expect Cuba trip to change after the Brussels attack? So, Jim, what do you want him to do? So, rush over to Brussels right now. Hey, I can't stay in Cuba anymore. There's a terrible bombing. Get me Air Force One. We're going to Brussels. How much you want to bet that if he did that, they'd be like, oh, just going for a photo op. What's the point after the bombing already happened? Look at Obama trying to take political advantage of a bombing like this. By the way, I thought that after horrific events like this, that there was supposed to be no politics. Like, for example, after the mass shooting after mass shooting, they say, hey, don't blame anybody. Don't play the blame game. This is not time for politics. How dare you politicize it? Now, there's a bombing in Brussels. They're all over politicizing in the most preposterous ways you've ever seen. Then we go to Stephen Crowder. At least this guy is an admitted joker, clown. He says, hashtag Brussels, please let this be the day Obama grows a pair. Stephen, Obama's, according to the Air Force, dropped over 20,000 bombs on ISIS. And he's dropped so many bombs that the Air Force is complaining that we're running out of bombs. What else would you like him to drop? Oh, yeah, if he grew a pair of balls. Yeah. It's easy to be stupid. Super easy. To say comments like that, oh, yeah, we should have gotten more bombs and dropped 40,000 bombs. Then that would work. I'm so tough. I have balls. Congratulations on your testicles. You apparently have them inside your head, too, because you don't have two brain cells to rub together. That strategy of bombing, and then blaming Obama for wherever he happens to be when the bombing that you suggested doesn't work, that doesn't help, and it's stupid. Okay. Steve Ferguson says, has anyone seen Obama denounce the murders in Brussels this morning? Yeah, all over television. Must still be reveling in the police state ambiance of Cuba. Okay. Now, some claim that he tweeted that before Obama made his official statement. Okay. So what did you want him to do? And later tweets explained that what they wanted him to do was to get on Twitter like Trump did and shoot off at the mouth before you know the facts. So they blame Obama for getting his intelligence briefing, then talking. Well, if you have no intelligence, I guess that makes sense to you. Who needs an intelligence briefing? I don't need no stinking facts. I just need balls. These are the people that we have to debate in this country. Look at how unbelievably unintelligent they are. Oh, yeah, he's in the wrong country. Oh, yeah, he spoke after he got his intelligence briefing. Who needs stinking information? Oh, Castro, Havana. I have criticized President Obama in 1,000 different ways on this show, each time showing you facts and policy differences. Now, the Republicans largely agree with him on the bombing, largely agree with him on all the other issues like helping the banks and income inequality that he has made worse through their efforts and all the different things that they agree on, the trade deals, etc. They can't criticize him on the policy because they largely agree with him on the policy. In fact, in the Republican debates, when Ben Carson, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and others were asked, what would you do in Syria with ISIS, they largely laid out the plan that Obama's doing. In fact, Carson used an example of what the U.S. government did as the right thing to do. That was what Obama ordered. They agree with him on policy, the policy that isn't working, so they've got to criticize him on nonsense. Our so-called opposition in America is pathetic. Young Turks. Okay, back on the Young Turks. Now apparently we have Cran fans.
I know, it makes me so excited. Sometimes I'll hashtag Cran fan. I freaking love it. Makes me really happy.
So when Hannah's on, hashtag Cran fan. Okay, that's fun. I've got more tweets here. Your mama writes in. It's always fun to say that. I actually just assumed Hassan's shirt was one of Cenk's terrible hand-me-downs from his Miami days.
Not an incorrect assumption whatsoever. I wear Cenk's hand-me-downs all the time.
This one doesn't happen to me, but
No.
yes, a lot of them are. That's true.
He was never this stylish. Come on, let's get real. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't have the balls to wear that. I wouldn't have the balls,
Yeah.
as a Fox News host says, to wear that. Gabby Marita writes in, Utah is the #1 state in porn consumption. I think that ad might help Trump get some votes up. Nice little pun at the end there.
paid porn subscription in 2009, according to a study that was later changed, though.
Yeah,
I was going to mention it.
Yeah, we've mentioned a couple of studies where Utah is at the very least near the top of porn consumption per capita. So good point, Gabby.
Also prescription drugs because they don't allow alcohol. So they find little ways around the things that they're not allowed to do.
Of course. No, I'm not allowed to drink coffee. Please pass the OxyContin, which will then lead to my heroin problem. Okay, Kim Rabini writes in, I think this speaks more to the Melania Trump attack. This speaks more to what a snake cruise is. Now, Kim, normally I'm 1,000% with you, and Cruz is a snake indeed. But that anti-Trump pack really might be a little bit independent of Cruz. His own packs, Cruz's packs, are not independent of Cruz no matter what they say. They're so full of shit when they say they're independent. But this pack is designed specifically to attack Trump, so they probably did not coordinate with Cruz, though I'm sure Cruz snickered and enjoyed it, right? Mm-hmm. And is probably still enjoying that picture. But anyway, Pixie Porter says about the Olivia Newton-John story and the Patrick McDermott. Okay, I got to stop that. Okay, anyway, says his poor son is the ultimate victim here. That kid must feel worthless all because his dad is a scumbag. Totally agreed, Pixie.
Yeah.
How do you do that to your own son? Like, don't care at all and pretend you're dead and won't speak to him.
He left like a few months into the wife's pregnancy. So I don't know what their relationship is like.
Yeah.
I mean, also another scumbag move. But
Right, yeah. Not the world. Like, when they found him, it's not like anybody was celebrating.
Right.
Like, oh, thank God we found this guy.
yeah.
Anyway, member number 1209 is Alicia Calloway, and member number 1210 is Lauren Jabush. It's a fun name, Jabush. Okay. Lauren, Alicia, you guys are awesome. We do have a post game for you guys today. We got a lot for you today. We got a lot coming up overall. Tomorrow, it appears we're going to have Bernie Sanders on the show. Whoa, what is this? We are trying to confirm the time for you guys, and we'll let you know as soon as we know, of course. Follow us on Facebook.com/The Young Turks. Follow us on Twitter. That's also The Young Turks. So we will let you know as soon as we know what the time of that is. Tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, our coverage of elections, Utah, Idaho, and Arizona. And then, but immediately following the show, postgame. We don't have a lot these days because of all the elections and the debates that are going on, but we do have one today, and it's a crazy one. One of our own, Jacori, witnessed a mugging that he jumped into the middle of in Santa Monica. A lot, and then car crashes. It's an unbelievably dramatic story. That's for the members tonight.
Wow.
TYTnetwork.com/join to become a member and support the show, as well as getting the members-only content. All right, what's next?
So at a Jersey City mall, a 1-year-old first experience with the Easter Bunny turned into a full-out brawl. Take a look at this crazy video.
Gang, gang, gang. Gang. Yo, why are you so tight? Oh, show us the Easter Bunny. Oh, the Easter Bunny throwing hands. The Easter Bunny's ass cracker. The Easter Bunny.
So my favorite part of this video is when he takes off his bunny hands to really get into the mess. And this all started when the 1-year-old slipped off of his lap during the pictures, and the 1-year-old's father started verbally and physically assaulting the bunny. Now, Kasim Charles, who's 22, who is dressed as the Easter Bunny, and Juan Jimenez Guerrero, who's 44, were both charged with aggravated assault and disorderly conduct. Now, Charles and Jimenez Guerrero both had outstanding warrants, and Charles, the Easter Bunny, had a warrant for his arrest for fair hopping, which is too ironic. Way too ironic.
That is hilarious.
Yes.
Okay, no, let's talk about the great parts of it. First of all, he had to take his Easter head off, like
Yes.
the bunny head off, right? to get at the guy. And then, but before he takes the Easter mittens off or whatever, right? The bunny paws, I should say. He goes like this to him, like with the paws still on, like cut it out, right? And then when he comes back, he's like, all right, it's on. Throws the bunny paws off, and then they go to work. They both had to be taken to the hospital for minor injuries. Well, man, when they asked, who was it, Jimenez?
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, but you should see the other bunny. Right? Oh. Dude, when you get into a fight with a bunny, no one wins.
At what point is someone so angry that they're motivated to attack a fluffy Easter bunny?
Well, when that said bunny drops your 1-year-old, that might do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't know the exact details.
We don't know.
I'm just saying, this is the most New Jersey story of all time, and this is the reason why I constantly am embarrassed that I went to school there and never mentioned that I'm from New Jersey, and
Except you just
upset. Did. I get upset when you mention that you're from New Jersey.
I love it. I'm Jersey strong,
God.
man. I'm
It's
Jersey
just-
proud. That's
like-
how we roll, man. We will kick a rabbit in the ass.
It's just like even people from New Jersey don't want to say they're from New Jersey. So North Jersey says they're from New York, and South Jersey claims that they're from Philadelphia.
Like that makes it better.
No, I know, but it's so bad.
The only people more likely to kick a bunny's ass than people from Jersey are people from Philly.
Or Boston. But yes.
So fun for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, when I first read this story, I was like, okay, the Easter Bunny got mad. And look, like, we've heard stories where the Santa Clauses get upset because those mall characters, if you will, have to undergo through so much, right? So they're like constantly having kids on their lap. They're like snotty. They pee on them sometimes. Like, I would be frustrated too. So if somebody started like verbally and physically assaulting me after I'm going through a full day of that, like,
A full day
I
of
might
living in
take off
New
the
Jersey,
paws.
on top of all of it, he's still like, oh man, I'm still in New Jersey. Like, I still haven't been able to get out. No, just seriously though, like immediately as soon as I read this, I was like, definitely two Guido guys, and Guido doesn't necessarily have to be Italian.
Everybody in Jersey
with highlights in their hairs, like were roided up, and they were fighting one another. Like, yo, bro, let's fucking do this shit. Like, that's how I picture it going down.
I think the bunny was black, right?
Yes.
And the other guy's Latino.
Yes.
But Haas is right. Everybody in Jersey's a Guido.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So and they're
All my
and
friends
all
would
the
be so pissed.
and all the guys are roiding. So that's definitely part of the issue here. But okay, putting Jersey aside though, guys, come on, man, you're better than this. Don't attack Santa. Don't attack the Easter Bunny. It's just going to get ugly. Remember, your 1-year-old's still there. I mean, luckily they won't remember.
I mean,
right?
but think about if there's other kids in the mall too who
Yeah.
are trying to get their pictures with the Easter Bunny. Now they're completely scarred. You know what I
Right.
mean? Do you remember how like scarred you were when you learned like Santa Claus wasn't real or something that you thought was real for so long that like broke your heart? Now they see freaking the Easter Bunny's
In all
head come
fairness,
off
though-
and start beating up one of the dads. Like that's extremely
In all fairness, it's the
scarring.
Easter Bunny. It's like one of the weakest of characters, like of all
But
mythological
one
characters.
of the most lovable.
But here's what I'm
No.
saying. Here's the point I want to make. Okay, if this guy is so concerned with the safety of his son that he is willing to throw bows with a complete random stranger in a bunny outfit, what the fuck? Did you not see the video? Did you not see the commotion? It did not seem like this person cared at all about the safety of this child whatsoever. There are people running around. This son could have been trampled.
Yeah, and
Ridiculous.
So one more thing about this. The Easter Bunny by itself is already scary enough. And I know because I got young kids. Both of my kids, when they were younger, I'd be like, hey, you want to take a picture with the Easter Bunny? They'd be like, oh, fuck no.
It's a massive bunny.
Right? No, because you see this giant bunny, you're like, geez, Lord mercy.
but is that
Right?
better than like an old dude?
No, so my point is, now my daughter is now 3.
Yeah.
She's still scared of the Easter Bunny. And then if she saw the Easter Bunny take its hat off and be like, what is this? What's there on? She'd be traumatized forever. On the other hand, my 5-year-old son, if he saw that, he would think that was the coolest thing he ever saw.
Like Transformer shit.
Yeah, like oh no, wow, the bunny turned into a Guido and then fought. That was awesome.
Beat my dad up, but like still cool. Yeah.
All right, well, that's the upside of the story. All right, we move forward.
So if you've ever wondered what human flesh tastes like and you're not really into the whole cannibalism thing, well, science journalist Greg Foote has the answer for you, and he found it by tasting his own flesh from his leg. Now, what he did basically was he underwent a medical procedure to take out some of the muscle from his own thigh. And then they went in and they analyzed the muscle, and they revealed that the muscle contains similar fibers to those found in both chicken breast and some cuts of beef. And what they did then was they cooked it to analyze the aromas that it gave off. And this is really important here because 80% of the total composition of flavor that we experience comes from our olfactory senses. And using the aroma from his flesh sample, Greg Foote then made a replica burger using lamb and pork. And if you're wondering what it may taste like, check out this video.
I think that's going to be the closest I'm ever going to get to tasting human. I'll tell you what, it's pretty good.
So creepy.
Yeah, no.
So creepy.
This is the worst video I've ever watched in my entire life, okay? And I love watching, like, weird, interesting murder videos or cannibal videos. If you really want to see an actually informative one about what flesh might taste like, watch the interview with a cannibal on Vice. I'm plugging them, but it's a really good interview where they interview this Japanese man named Issei Sagawa who murdered and ate someone and is actually free in Japan due to a loophole. But it was the least climactic ending I've ever seen, and it was such a bullshit so because of a law, we're not going to be able to actually taste it, but we'll still clickbait it totally as if we did taste it, and then I'm just going to make myself an awesome burger and be like, that's the closest I'll be to a human flesh.
Right, so you make a good point there so that I can clarify. So it is still illegal to eat your own flesh. Like, obviously it's illegal to eat other humans' flesh, but it's still legal to eat your own flesh. That's why he didn't do it. That's why he went with
Is that why he didn't do it?
Aroma thing. But
he probably ate it anyway.
Look, maybe. I don't know.
It was this big. It's this big.
But here's the thing is, like, I don't understand, like, even if you're not eating your own flesh and you're making something that's similar, the concept of being like, I'm eating something that tastes really similar to, like, human flesh, like, that's disgusting in itself.
No, I think it's a cop-out. It's a fucking cop-out, and you should not be calling yourself a fucking science journalist. If you're a real science journalist, you should have eaten that.
I thought you were going to say you can't call yourself a real cannibal.
No.
Like,
yeah,
you copped out, man.
You definitely can't call yourself a real cannibal, for sure. Okay, but you guys want to hear something really, really gruesome. So there was actually a case in Germany where this 42-year-old, completely normal German man put out an ad for someone who wanted to be voluntarily eaten. And someone actually responded to that ad and was eaten.
Yeah.
How ridiculous is that?
I'm going to disagree with the completely normal German man
Up
part.
to that point, I'm saying. Like, totally normal with the exception that he actually ate a human and, like, the other human was,
I
like,
think there might
volunteered
be
to do
some
that.
other chemical components going on there.
Yeah, other than the fact that I'm about to murder and eat you, I'm a completely normal German man.
He sedated the person with sleeping pills, like after the written consent, video consent, everything. And then the only clause in the agreement was that he would cut off the other person's penis and they would both eat it together. They fried it.
Yeah, of course they did. And I think I saw that in a German porn once. What is wrong with the Germans? Okay, like
Dude, have you seen Brothers Grimm? Have you read anything about like German child stories? Like it's fucked up.
There is there's a strain within the German culture that is a little problematic. Okay, obviously that's not on all Germans. Calm down, okay? It's just ein bisschen part of culture in Deutschland. Okay, so now back to this guy for a second.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I'm going to lib out here. I don't think it should be illegal to eat yourself.
I agree, actually.
Like, why do I care if this dude wants to eat a piece of his leg? How about it, Hoss?
I was super surprised when I read that was illegal. I didn't know that was illegal, and I don't think it should. Like, if you want to do anything to your own body, self-mutilate, I guess, whatever.
It's the ultimate taste. Like, once you've never heard the joke, like, oh, once you taste human flesh, you can't go back. Like,
I've never heard that, Hoss.
I haven't been hanging out. I haven't been hanging out on German websites.
I know. I'm fascinated with the weird oddity of human nature, so I look at stories like this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you've done a lot of research.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Which is
good.
Which is good. Okay, so now again, I don't know why we're so freaked out that human flesh might taste okay. The lions seem to kind of like it. Hey, we're just another animal.
Right.
So, yeah, of course. And we've covered many stories when there's the plane crashes or there's the tragedies at sea and people wind up doing cannibalism to be able to survive. And, yeah, there are different parts of our body that taste better than other parts. Apparently the ass tastes pretty good.
No,
I'm not kidding.
No, the Japanese guy was literally saying that's the first part of the human body that he tried, and he said it was too fatty and it wasn't as good it didn't taste as well as he thought it would.
Right. So others have reported that's where they start eating humans first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so, okay, I get it. Right. So we eat cows. We're not freaked out by that. Some people eat dogs, and we get freaked out because they're pets. Right. And then if you eat humans, like, whoa, what is this? Right? Other animals eat us. We eat other animals.
But animals don't eat one another usually.
That's not true.
Though.
So
Cannibalism.
there are some cases of cannibalism in other animal species, like if in lion prides and things
That's
like
right.
that. So the main lion will eat the cubs
few
of another.
instances of animals that eat one another. Even in monkeys that eat one another will usually get afflicted by this like brain disease that causes them to go crazy. Usually, there's like in our internal wiring, there's this genetic code that tries to make sure that we don't cannibalize.
That's right. That's why we're all freaked out by it.
Yeah.
That's why there's something inside of us that go, whoa, don't do that, right? But I'm just saying, humans are not some other type of like otherworldly species. We're just another animal on this planet, so it's not that crazy that somebody would taste human flesh. And so I don't suggest it.
No.
It's a bad idea. Don't do it. But I get it that it's not going to taste that much different than chicken. I'm not at all surprised by that.
Apparently, it tastes like pork.
Yeah, chicken, pork,
Yeah, it's like
lamb,
pork
whatever
and lamb.
combo. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's an interesting question. If he's like super into science, like what does it
Yeah,
taste like?
I'm sure he's super into science. Like, fuck that guy. He made ground beef. Like he put 3 different types of meat
He's so
together.
offended by this, but not by the
I thought there was
cannibalism.
going to be something interesting. I wanted to learn. I was like, I wonder. Okay, like I'm genuinely interested in how this is going to turn out, and it was so shitty. Like it was just, I just made a cool burger. It's very cool.
Nothing pisses off Haas more than fake cannibals. Okay, that's what we've learned on today's show.
Not even once.
Okay, all right, keep going. What's next?
All right. A 6-year-old girl has been removed from her foster home where she lived for 4 years because she is 1/64th Native American. Now, Rusty and Summer Page of Santa Clarita, California, have long fought to gain custody of Lexi 6, who is 1.56% Choctaw Native American. Now, that figure means that Lexi's home placement is dictated by the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. Now, that law seeks to keep American Indian children with American Indian families. Now, this was put in place after a large number of children were actually removed from American Indian families, either by private or public companies back in the 70s. Now, the child's birth parents struggled with substance abuse, according to court documents. Now, her father, who had a criminal history, never lived on a Choctaw reservation and didn't have any social, political, or cultural ties to the tribe, according to court documents. But officials determined that Lexi is 1/64th Choctaw based on his ancestry. Now, the Page family have fought for to keep her, right, to fully adopt her after going through foster care with her. And in 2014, they were deemed able to adopt her, but the problem was there was a family that she was extended family in Utah who was related to her through a step-grandfather who had 0% Choctaw Indian in them that wanted custody of her. A decision earlier this month actually ordered the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services to place Lexi with the Utah family in accordance with the Federal Indian Child Welfare Act. Now, following this decision, the family made an online petition to keep Lexi home. 40,000 people signed it. Dozens of supporters actually surrounded the Page's house when the Department of Family Services was going to take her. And we actually have a video of that. Watch.
Stay down, guys. Stay down. Stay down, guys.
Because we thought the county was have the decency to not take her.
Thank you so much. Come on, guys, you have to call it. Okay, let's go.
She's a foster child. You cannot film her. It's illegal to film her. Please stop.
She's a foster child. I love you. You know right now. Violating the law. She's a foster child. I love you, Lexi.
So that is utterly heart-wrenching, and the family is still working to get her back and to maybe attain some sort of visitation rights, but it's just a really sad story.
Now, so you can tell in the video that they're angry about it being taped, but I actually think it helps them because it shows how heartbreaking it is and gets people on their side, understandably so. In this case, I want you to both not freak out and freak out at the same time. So here's what I mean by that. The reason the law was passed in the first place is not because of political correctness or some like big government wants to do this, that, and the other thing. No, it was a real problem that they had back then, right? And it was to address that problem. So it is, and then it wasn't like the government just up and decided, hey, she's 164th Indian, Native American, so I'm going to go get her. And I'm just going to make up this problem. No, somebody wanted custody of her. So they were forced to look at the law and abide by the law. So I don't think anybody came at this from like, yeah, we're going to take their kid away. Except for the people who asked for the custody. That's a whole separate issue.
But it's not just somebody, though. It's extended family who realized in 2011, all the way back in 2011, when Lexi was up for adoption with this new foster family, immediately came out and said, as soon as they were aware, that they were interested in adopting her. So in this instance, and then the court proceedings went on for years, all the way up to 2014, when the California courts ruled against the extended family and said that they could continue to appeal this decision, but we are going to keep Lexi with her original foster parents. Now,
so that's a great point that the extended family are not bad guys either. They wanted to take care of their family member, and the case took so long.
And I understand that, and I think the foster care system is something that's really complicated, right? So there are definitely a lot of problems with it, but it also can be a great way for kids to have a home that they can be more safe and more stable in. Now, in Lexi's particular case, she actually went through 2 foster homes prior to the Page family, and the second one they actually took her out of because she had a bruised eye and scratches on her face. So obviously a really, really unstable childhood. So I think that should definitely come into play into this decision, because now she had, for the first 2 years of her life, potentially something that was abusive, leaving her birth parents and then going into a family that was potentially abusive, which we can only kind of assume from the black eye. And then to live the next 4 years of her life and be attached to this family, I think those things should come into place, because this is going to be more traumatizing than living with a family who's not your extended family through a step-grandfather.
But no matter what, I don't think the case should be decided based on the Indian Child Welfare
Act
of 1978.
Of course, agreed completely.
And so that's the part where I do want you to freak out. Like, you don't have to get mad at any one actor in this situation, but it is okay to do a petition so that, for example, if that law doesn't make sense anymore, then we should repeal it. And that's how democracy works. So it made sense back then, it doesn't now. Let's go ahead and address that to make sure it's not on the books anymore so that situations like this don't happen. Because no matter where you think the kid should go, I don't think anyone reasonably believes that it should be decided by this law because she's 164th Choctaw.
Except for the extended family who, like, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, who finally got what they were trying to do since 2011.
Right, but it had nothing to do with the antiquated law. So, right, so that's,
I know they're using this.
They're using that to get it, but it shouldn't have anything to do with
what
that.
They've been trying to do since 2011. So I think it's easy immediately to extend our support to this one family. But in reality, we should also probably consider the extended family's wishes in this instance as well, because it's not like they were completely
100%. But I don't think that should rely on an antiquated law for that doesn't necessarily come into account today.
So
right. So I get the extended family part, but going into referencing a law that was placed in the 70s because of a real issue that they had back then, which is totally understandable, shouldn't determine some decision that that's going to take place today in this climate.
I'm just upset with the fact that it is incredibly difficult to find any information on the extended family, because the first thing that I wanted to find out was why the California Appeals Court ruled in favor of the foster family instead of the extended family. And then the other thing I was left wondering, or the other thing I was wondering about is that why the family initially did not immediately go into adoption and were fostering this child for 4 years.
That's not because that's not how the foster care system works. It's not supposed to be a funnel for adoption. In some cases, the foster family will get really attached to the child and they will file for adoption.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case. It's really until
Well,
they
it's
find a
they were
permanent
attached in
home
this
for the
instance,
child.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's why they tried to adopt her in the first place back in 2011.
Yeah. Right. So, and I think that the extended family obviously really wanted her with them, but it seems like they found this law as a matter of convenience. Not they were like, oh, this foster family is snatching up a Native American child that belongs with us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We're out of time.
Yeah.
Hannah, great job. Everybody check out
you.
youtube.com/think tank. Haas, great job. Everybody check out youtube.com/poptrigger. And we've got a post game coming up for you guys if you're members, and the amazing story of how one of our producers and directors here, Ja'Cory, stopped a mugging, and the crazy story of what happened after he stopped the mugging, right?
Ooh.
So that's, if you're a member, tytnetwork.com/join. And everybody, whether you're a member or not, we're live tonight in just a little bit, in about an hour and a half from now, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We've got elections tonight. Arizona's a really important one on the Democratic side, and can anything stop Trump on the Republican side? We'll find out a big part of the answer tonight, so check that out, and then obviously make sure you watch tomorrow. It appears we're going to have Bernie Sanders live here in the studio tomorrow, so fun for everybody. All right, thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.